What's up? How's it going? Give me a second. I'm gonna try to set up my stream, my Twitch stream alerts. I had them set up at some point, but I don't know what happened. How y'all doing? What is going on with you all? Yo, sometimes OBS is so bad. Like, I'm trying to move. Hold on. Like, I can't drag this box to get it where I want it to go. I guess I could show you guys. Like, I want to move this to the right of my screen. When I click it, oh, of course it works when I show you guys. I'm gonna put it over here. And I don't know if you could even see that, but all right, we should be good now. Yeah, just planning to work. Can you guys see me? Yeah, you can see me. All right. We are working on a little game, and by we, I mean me and one other person on my Discord. And one thing that, let's see. Oh, did the shot not hurt him? Hold on. Let me know if the sounds are too loud. Gonna get annoying, isn't it? I was doing something on this project, but I don't remember what it was. I think I was like refactoring the entities or something. We have a wall and a zombie. And I've also been trying to play around with Neovim. So far, I'm not very productive using it. But it's always fun to try new things, right? So one thing I'm trying to do is I was refactoring the zombie. Let me go over here. I think I was like trying to refactor the zombie to use a different type of approach to how we're doing entities. At first, we were just doing a bunch of classes, and then we refactored it to using an entity component system, I think is what it's called. So like we attach functionality to the entities as needed, and based on what you attach as an extension, it'll change its functionality, right? But at this point, I made a lot of changes, and I don't know if doing this in Neovim is probably a good idea right now, so I might switch over to VS Code for 2 seconds. And by VS Code, I mean cursor. Because some things, like doing a git diff, are just going to be a little easier over here for me. Because I'm a noob. All right, change the zombie a little bit. I made it ignitable. I made it destructible. I think this might be what kind of broke it. If I were to comment this out for right now and go back to the game, I just want to be able to shoot. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Yeah, what are we working on? Try to refactor the zombie entity to use ECS. Simple enough. And then what I could do is just like highlight this for you all so we know this is what we're working on. So there's like a lot of things on this entity, which some of these things we're gonna have to pull away and use extensions. Like you saw here, I was trying to use a destructible extension. The destructible extension, in fact, if I were to just load it up, destructible, here it is. What this does is it extends an entity that have health, and also that health can be, they can be damaged, you know? So it has some like reusable functionality, such as like, okay, it has a damage method on it. You can damage the thing, and at a certain point, if it dies, it calls a death handler, which, where was this thing set up? This is passed in on a, what are these called? Kind of like a factory function. It has like methods on it. I guess I couldn't call it a factory. It just has methods we can call to give it callbacks, and then these callbacks will be invoked. So, if I were to add this extension to this zombie entity, we would probably have to go through and delete a lot of stuff. Because if you're destructible, in fact, let me split this, and I'm going to say, put that over there. Okay, so we're going to give it destructible, and that's actually going to kind of like overwrite how the health stuff's working. So I think if I save this and go back, we can no longer shoot the zombie. Well, you can only shoot it with the pistol for some reason. Okay, now it's working. I don't know what I broke before. Anyway, let's go through here. Get the max health. So this thing will be gone now. And what you could do is you can find all the references to this. So I think you can do like SF to find the references and try to figure out what might be calling this. Wait, I'm not doing the right thing, am I? I think it's GF or GR. Consume. Get max health. Yeah, this will be kind of an interesting one to implement. I think the first thing I need to do is I need to get rid of. Why are we implementing damageable twice? That's not good. But you'll see we have damageable here. I think if we get rid of this and save it, we should see. I think we'll have to go through and figure out like what. I think we call it traits. Here it is. All right, here's the damageable interface. And it has a damage, so I need to find damage here. Probably get rid of it. Oops. And this is broadcasting an event, so we'll have to keep that in mind, but everything else is kind of the same as it was over there. I'm just going to delete it. I'm going to delete it. How many, 13. I delete that. That's going to break the game. Let's get rid of heal. Get health. Get damage box. There's a static here. That one's going to be kind of annoying to find. Get damage box, get health, damage. Honestly, I might just delete both of those. Attempt attack entity. It also has a hitbox. I think so here's another thing that we got to fix in the game is like we have a damage box and we have a hitbox. Actually, I don't know if we have to fix that. The hitbox is different. I might rename this to get collidable, or sorry, get collision box or something. Because the collision box is something that's a little bit wider around the player, so they'll run into objects. Or sorry, no, the hitbox is a little bit bigger. I don't know, it's kind of confusing. We need to rename and refactor a little bit of that code, but I think right now we're using a hitbox for the collisions and we're using a damage box for like the bullets because the square around the zombie is a little bit smaller when it needs to get hit by a bullet, or maybe it's a little bit larger, I don't remember. But the colliding is a little bit smaller because they get stuck on boxes and stuck on trees and stuff. So I had to make the hitbox of the zombie smaller. How do you benefit from TypeScript when making a game? I mean, like when you're doing refactoring, that's like the biggest benefit of some type of strongly typed language is you can change the interface and then your whole code base starts lighting up red saying that, hey, you actually can't do that. So it's a lot more beneficial than using something like JavaScript. Now, if you're asking why would I use TypeScript over Go or something else, it's just what I'm familiar with. And so I'll be able to move fast building a game using it versus if I were to switch a completely different language. What's up, Igor? How's it going? Is this the new ghostly terminal? No, I'm just using Neovim. I'm just using iTerm, I guess. I got Cursor over here. Cursor's sitting on standby over here, right? So like if I get to something that's too difficult for me to do in Neovim, like I'm just going to use Cursor, you know? I'm actually surprised. This game should be broken now. Yeah. All right, so now we're at a point where the game is actually broken. And we could probably look at the server to figure out what's going on here. So if entity zombie is dead is not a function, and that's been called by the entity manager here. 264. Okay, so get updatable entities, it loops through them and updates them, and then it does the extension. So I think what's happening is there's probably zombie line 151. Okay, here we go. Why would that be failing? You know, that actually might be an older bug. Maybe. No, it's definitely, okay, entities zombie 151 if this is dead. Did I open up the wrong zombie class? 151. Oops. Oh, here it is. Okay, so when it updates, it's checking to see if it's dead. If it is, it just stops updating. I kind of wonder if we even need this. I don't know how to comment 3 lines out in Neovim. How do I comment out multiple lines in Neovim? Do I have to select 3 lines and then do like a GC? Ah, okay. Oops. That's weird. I have to subtract 1, GC2J, and that'll comment it out. I guess I could also do move before next character, next word. Interesting. Anyway, let me save this. Let's see what happens. So go back to the app. Refresh. Still broken. Why is it broken? Zombie.getHitbox is not a function. So again, going back to the zombie line 72, there's no hitbox here, right? So this might be called other places. Let's see. I wonder if I should not have deleted the hitbox stuff. Do I have a hitbox here? Zombie with. Probably easier if I just find. Wait, where's the zombie? Wasn't there a static somewhere? Zombie.getHitbox. Okay, we spawned. Hit damage box is not a function. So now this is like a front end error. So the front end is crashing for some reason. Actually, let me turn down the. It'd be nice if I could just turn off the sounds, just for like temporarily. How would I find the sounds? I think the sounds is in util. No, it's in config. Isn't it? Here it is. I'll say debug. This will be sounds. Okay, so now if we want to disable the sounds, I think on the front end, we would have to import those. And where do we actually play the sounds when stuff happens? I think it's in the client socket manager. Okay, actually that might actually be the sound manager. Yep, here it is. And if we scroll down a little bit, play positional sound is where we actually play this. So I wonder. We could just like if debug disable sounds. Yeah, so should I do that? If it's off, then we'll play it. If it's not defined, we'll play it. Otherwise, I think that's fine. Okay. That's good. It is crashing though. Let me check chat real quick. Yeah, there's a repo. I get the link for it. Hold on. All right. So the front end's crashing because get damage box is not a function. So we kind of have to figure out where get damage box is being used. And did it tell us what line? Zombie on the front end, 134. So now I can go and find the client zombie class. Here we go. Scroll down a little bit. And this is calling get damage box, which it doesn't have. And now that I think about it, is this even used? Hitbox with padding. Well, I think the issue is that we removed damageable from this entity. And so now we have like all these other things that we'll have to get rid of. Get damage box. Get health. Is dead. Heal. Definitely doesn't need a heal on it. Get max health. This used somewhere? Is dead. Yeah. But I mean, I guess this is a good reason why you want to do encapsulation and like abstraction, because now I could actually get the damage. I think we call it destructible. And we could just say we want to this dot get extension. We don't have. Okay, why don't we have that? Extends generic entity implements renderable. Super must be called before. So I think what would help me right here is if I actually close this one out. I'm going to go over here. Then I'm going to close this one. And then I want to basically find... Oh no, where's generic entity come from? Probably an easier way to do that, but all right, here's a generic entity, and that's how you kind of have to use it. But I think I want to copy another thing we're using here. So like if I do client cloth, that's one of the entities we have. And so I think just having these side by side, we can actually just look back and forth and figure out how to refactor our zombie client, which is getting out of hand, to use this new approach to entities. And so like we just have to make sure that it has data raw entity, which, let me delete this. Oops. Raw entity, okay, in the asset manager. And then we just have to do a super data. Do I need type here? I guess not. We don't have type over there, so probably already inside a generic entity and it gets set when we call super. Okay, so some of the things that this has is a render method and an update method and a get z index. So I think those are like the main ones. Might actually do that right now. Hold on. Okay, so knowing if the zombie's dead, we need that to change the render logic. So is dead is actually going to be this dot get extension. Now we can, as we just did that refactoring, we should be able to pass in the destructible, so destructible extension here, and then we can basically start accessing the methods that are on it. We're gonna just assume that it exists, but what do we want to do? So is dead calls this is dead method. Whoops, is dead method, and then we can kind of just refactor those two instances. Like, it might be easy enough just to like do this. Okay. And there's a get damage box down here. So this one, I think, depending on the extension that we have, and it might make more sense just to like get the whole extension here. So I can say const destructible. Hold on. Destructible equals, and then I think I could probably just like grab that whole line, which I don't know how to, so I'm gonna just do this. And now we should be able to like remove some of the stuff. The reason we did that is because down here, I actually want to say, I think it's just destructible dot get damage box now. We just call it. Y'all following along? I like to ask your opinion about Cursor ChatGPT as a learning tool. I like to ask for reviews of my code or code snippets in order to check if they follow good practices or stuff like that. And if you think that at my current time should be focused on learning. I'm not really sure what you're asking. I mean, yeah, I personally would leverage AI tools to review your code and give you feedback on how you can do different things. I have done that myself, even on my own code bases, and it does explain different ways to structure your code that might be more extendable, modular. You know, you could split stuff up into smaller components. So like if you have like a React file that's like 500 lines long, you could ask, hey, how could I split this up into smaller subcomponents? And then it'll just kind of give you some suggestions. I mean, it's going to have good information. I'm not sure if I truly understand what are you asking? Like at this point, I mean, like AI is so useful in most of the stuff that if it's going to give you advice on like solid principles and like many of the Gang of Four class patterns you could use, it's going to just take information that's already out there in Wikipedia and give it to you. So yeah, I mean, I would definitely use AI because it's literally just expediting how fast you can get that already written information in front of you. And it's pretty accurate most of the time. In terms of generating code, that's where it's a little bit sketchier because sometimes it generates bad code. But even so, like for example, on this game, I use Cursor to generate the A-star algorithm. And I basically just kept asking, hey, this doesn't work. Can you re-implement it? And then I did it again, and I did it again. I swear I did it like 10 or 14 times. Until finally the algorithm was working. And by all those times, like I probably could have just learned the A-star algorithm. Like if you go to Wikipedia, it tells you how to implement it. It's like a breadth first search, but then you have like a directional that you shoot off in first. And then they kind of code that up in code is a little bit more challenging. But it took me what, like 10, 20 minutes to implement it versus if I were to go read the Wikipedia, watch the diagramming, then I have to go to a YouTube video and watch through it, make sure I understand the algorithm, and then I have to implement the algorithm myself, and then also try to figure out how to implement the algorithm into my current code base. Like, I don't know. You have to weigh it out. Like how important is it to you to learn an algorithm versus what isn't important. Like I would rather just get to building my game than to spend a bunch of time learning an algorithm I never really need to think about afterwards. Sorry, that was a ramble. Hey bro, do you find Neovim any better than VS Code that far? Currently, no. I am much more productive using VS Code. But again, that could just be because this is what I've been using for since I started web development, right? I mean, I think I was using like Notepad++ for a while, and then I used like Eclipse for Java development, and then I used Sublime for a little bit, and then Atom came out, and that's the editor I used for a while, and then VS Code came out, and I've only been using VS Code since then, right? I don't know what year that was. I think like 2013, 14, 12, something like that. In terms of Neovim, I mean, I just use Vim. When I had to like SSH into the boxes and verify things and like cat files and modify things in those boxes, I use Vim. And so I got pretty good at navigating a terminal and then also like SSHing into a remote machine. You basically need to either use Nano or Vim or V or whatever. But your question, is there anything better? Some things I like. Okay, let me just tell you some things I like. I can quickly go out and in to where I just was, right? So if you get really good at like learning how to like go into a definition and then pop back out, that's pretty cool. And you can basically find files really fast. So like if I want to find like the client cloth or something, if I could actually type, okay, hold on a second. That was a bad example. Usually this is fast. I could say like server cloth. Here we go. Let's edit it. And then we're in the file, right? How hard is it to do in VS Code? Not hard at all. I mean, you just basically say fuzzy server cloth. You're there. Right? So I don't know. It's like VS Code has literally all the same stuff. It's just a different way to achieve it. I like using my cursor a lot. I played a lot of RTS games like StarCraft, Red Alert. So I'm pretty good at like using my cursor and trying to like select exactly where I want. Like, I don't think, you saw how fast it was. Let's say I want to move this extensions into another area. Like, okay, I messed up some, but like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it just feels faster. Just be like, okay, I want to move this and I want to put it like right there. That's it. In Neovim, like, I don't even know how you do this. Let's try to do it. We will say for DD and they'll say go to the end of G. Oh gosh. Wait, how do I go down? 8J, go to the end, paste it in. It just, I mean, does that not feel like a lot of extra steps when I could just literally do this? Like boom, boom, you're done. So it just feels, I don't know, it just feels like you have more control with the cursor. And then especially just certain things I haven't learned how to do in Neovim, like this. How do I do a quick diff on files? It's probably a single command I have to run, but I haven't learned it yet. And then the tree browser, I mean, honestly, when you get to a large project, you never use the tree browser anyway. There's just too many files. Like you get up to thousands of files and you end up having to just traverse your whole code base with pathing. And you get really used to what the names of certain things are. So like, okay, I know I want to modify something in the server and I want to be able to change the name of an event that I can send from the server to the client. Well, I probably do server events, okay? And then that'll take me to this file that tells me the events. And then if I want to change the logic in the front end for when that event comes over, like what I would do, I say client event listener. There we go. We're on the event listener. Same thing. I can scroll up. If I want to go to a particular definition, like let's say I know that there's a on player death, right? I'm up here. I can just do fuzzy search. If I remember how to do it, on player death. Now I'm trying to do Vim in VS Code, so I don't know. I'm going to keep playing with it, though, because I want to look cool. So let's just keep doing this. And hopefully I can put that back to where it was. Did I save that, though? Hold on. I think the problem is I'm saving things in this editor and messing up whatever's going on over here. Anyway, did I answer your question? Oh, my theme? I don't know. I honestly don't know. Obviously, I'm not using AI to copy paste auto suggestions, but actually trying to understand and look up applied solutions with that code so I can compare and actually learn from suggestions. Yeah, I mean, if you just want to learn, like, yeah, I mean, like, don't use AI if you just want to learn. You're going to have to spend time understanding it yourself. AI is there when you already know it. You just don't want to spend the time implementing it. Or you know that you can learn it, and you just don't want to waste 5 hours, like, crafting down the algorithm yourself. Just my opinion. Like, most of this stuff, I've literally built and failed in so many different games in the past that a lot of these algorithms, I'm sure I've implemented them in the past. And so I'm like, dude, I don't really care to re-implement this. I could. I know I could dive into it, right? I've learned so many things over there. I know I can dive into the algorithm. I just don't want to spend the time right now. I want to build a game. And so I just use Cursor to generate my stuff for me. I read through it. I'm like, yeah, this code seems pretty good. I accept it. I test it. I run it. Everything works fine. And I move on. But if you're just wanting to learn, then yeah, just don't use AI. Does the render function run every frame? Yeah, it hooks into the browser like request animation frame, and then it basically just keeps on calling it over and over again. How do you find coding with Django? Any challenges, improvements, takeaways? Would you recommend it? Honestly, I don't like the dynamic languages. I just don't like them. I used to code in JavaScript for like years, and you just get hung up on dumb bugs, like just silly bugs where you misspelled something or you're passing the wrong argument into a function signature or you forgot to swap something. And that eats into like an hour or two of your day. Like the most simple syntax error that you knew, like it would be easy to fix. And usually when you like run into one of these bugs, you'll go and ask people for help. I do a lot of pair programming where I work. So like usually it's you and someone else like pairing as much as possible on building out the solutions. These are little things that like your pair programming buddy will find in like 2 seconds. You'll type something, you'll misspell something, and then your coworker's like, "Hey, you mistyped something." With TypeScript, it's like, dude, your code lights up red, and like I can actually focus on the more important things than the syntax. So Django kind of gives me that vibe where like stuff doesn't light up red. I think you can add types to Python in Django. I just haven't looked into it yet. And then we're also using like the built-in templating language with Django. I mean, like it works. Don't get me wrong. I know I'm kind of talking bad about it, but it works. You can make your templates, and then you can split your templates into smaller templates. And I don't know. I just miss how Next.js works for building out UIs. That's the truth. Django has a powerful ORM. I just spent a whole day like trying to get this stuff all deployed out to ECS. Like I was trying to get Django deployed out because on top of that, we're using some other stuff. And it's just something that should be pretty easy to get set up with just like a bunch of extra configuration and documentation I had to go read into. Or maybe I'm just dumb. That's always a possibility. Use visual mode to highlight the code and then yank it Shift plus V to visualize yank P paste. What? Shift P to visualize. I know what you're saying, right? Let's try it again. So we'll go to go 6 up or 5 up. Okay. You're saying visual mode. Let's select these lines. Oops. Yank. Okay. And then I need to go down to like 12. Wait, did I just copy everything? I did. Visual mode. Yank that. And then let's go 9 down. I don't know. You just can't convince me that a mouse is not faster. Like a trackpad is just not a more efficient way to code. But maybe I'll change my tune. Use curly braces to move down faster. What does that do? Curly braces. Okay, so then it's like, okay, curly braces. Like, you know how many like things I had to click just to get down there? You know what? Is there an extension? I like these little relative line numbers because like I can quickly like, I could jump down to 9. But I also miss the line numbers. Like I want to know what line I'm on. If I'm on a file that's 500 lines long, I just want to be able to like jump to a line real quick. Like right now I'm thinking about I want to do 11 GG to jump up to that, but like, I mean, I guess I could just, anyway. Hello, I want to say thank you so much for your content. Hey, thank you, appreciate it. Also wants to ask if it's worth making a portfolio with a framework for me that would be Angular or stay with basics for portfolio site. I mean, I would say make a portfolio with whatever you want to learn. Is the portfolio for you to try to get a job? If so, then build it with whatever you know and get it out there as fast as possible and make it look nice. If the portfolio is for you to learn something new, pick Next, pick Remix, pick Django, and then build your thing with the tool so that you can learn something from it. For Python, you need a set of VS Code to do type hint and type checks. Then it's really good. All right, I'll make a mental note to do that on Monday when I work again. If it's like, yeah, I just need to find more extensions, I guess, or just use like PyCharm or something. I tried adding red to Python and so much things goes red and yellow. It's crazy, the lack of typing. Then I turned it off. Just say the line number in the bottom right. Unless that's the status bar I have with my config. I mean, yeah, it tells you what line you're currently hovered on and what character. So I'm like 5 characters in, line 10. It's fine. You know, what was I doing? Unable to find extension destructible entities. 73. Click this. What was it? Zombie on the client side? Entities. Zombie client, get extension. Zombie on the render 74. Okay. Okay, so for some reason, when I try to get the extension of destructible, this thing doesn't work. And I think the reason is because there's like an entity factory on the front end that, let me use those curly braces someone talked about. Here we go. Wait, how does that jump around? Does it just jump from... Oh, it jumps between the curly braces. Is that what it does? That's actually pretty cool. And then I can go down half a page or one, two. So I think what I'm trying to say is I need to go find an entity called zombie. And the way we did zombies is with this initialize entity method, but we're trying to refactor to deserialize what comes over. Okay, so I put data here and just save that. The client. Why does it not have a... Oh, I'm doing this. Okay. This whole factory thing is a mess. We need to figure out how to clean this up. But okay, this zombie entity should hopefully make some progress. Again, this is something like you could literally ask cursor and it'll probably be done with this by 5 minutes. Like 5 seconds, maybe 2 prompts, 3 prompts, and it'll go through your code and already refactor like all this stuff to be what it needs to be. But for the sake of trying to learn Neovim, I'm just trying to code. And this is, you have to go through and fix the bugs as you hit them. I could probably find all the TypeScript errors. Is there if I load up a terminal, like, could I just highlight all the TypeScript errors? Again, that's already like there in VS Code. All my TypeScript errors. I can go to problems, I believe. I think it's lying to me. How is there no problems? There's like an experimental TypeScript flag in here that you can use. Here we go. This will like dive through all of your code and tell you every single thing that you've messed up. Because I think it only tells you right now like the things you have open. Okay, there it is. It's starting to light up, telling me how bad I am. And so here are all the TypeScript errors that are in my project. And right now, I don't know in how to do that in Neovim. I'm sure there's a way to do it, but with typed languages, I mean, like, you make that change, and then like typically you see everywhere in your code base where you just like broke it, assuming that these errors aren't just bad errors. So some of these, like, I need to just go through and spend time fixing them. Putting an any on them could probably just do that for right now, but like, here's some TypeScript errors that we gotta fix. When it gets into like the more complex TypeScript stuff, like, I have to just go and ask AI and get some feedback on how to like structure it better with the generics and whatnot. And some of this other stuff is like, dude, I'm trying to implement a feature, but then I'm going through the code, I see all these bugs. It's like, I should address the technical debt now. There's different ways you can do tech debt. One of the ways is you can try to do like the thing is called like the campsite rule, where like if you open up a file that's related to what you're refactoring and you see like errors in places that could be improved, like, just go ahead and spend some time improving it. Right? This is red. I could spend some time trying to fix it. Sometimes that turns into a rabbit hole of spending hours trying to fix something simple. So you have to like gauge, okay, when do I not go off on that rabbit hole and just focus on what I was doing? The other type of addressing tech debt is just circle back and do it later, which unfortunately a lot of people don't have the discipline to do. And so you just end up getting more and more of these problems that get introduced to your code base that no one takes the time to go and fix. So you have to kind of weigh out which one's better for you and your team. As long as you can allocate time to refactor and fix issues, I think it's fine to defer to tech debt or like the bad errors and the red highlightings you're seeing. But if you are in a team that you feel like you're just pressured to push features all the time constantly, you should probably just include this work, this like campfire like rule work, to clean up some code as you're like going along. And just don't ship the code until it's done and ready. Like, one thing that a really good engineer on my team did is they added a rule where if you commit code to the repo and the TypeScript errors go up, the pull request fails, right? So we didn't want to introduce more type errors into our code base. We wanted to slowly get them down. So adding some type of CI/CD pipeline rule that says, hey, you can't get this code merged in until you actually fix your code. It's a good reminder that you shouldn't be shipping poorly written code. And then also that same thing applies to like code coverage. You put thresholds. Your code cannot go under a certain threshold of testing, and if it does, your code will just not get merged in. Your feature will never get deployed out, and it won't get accepted. Okay, so these are things that you can add into your pipeline to force your team, especially if your team gets larger, like, to keep the quality of your code base good, because at some point the quality will just start dropping off the cliff, and it's going to be a lot harder for people who are getting onboarded to learn your code base and to contribute to it. And it just becomes harder for you and yourself to like understand the code and ship features when your clients ask you for features. If you want to switch off relative line numbers and add this line, relative numbers false. No, I do like the relative numbers. Hey, what's up, Josh? Josh Manders, he's like the X. I see him on X all the time. And then like one time I was looking at a GitHub issue and I clicked into it and Josh was like all over that issue too. Like some random GitHub issue, some random thing I never even touched. His name was on it. I'm like, man, is this guy everywhere? Guy's working on like 7 different laptops at the same time, typing with his feet. Yeah, Josh says Neovim is dope, but if you're describing a reason I don't want to leave VS Code. Oh, sorry, you are describing a reason I don't want to leave VS Code. I just don't have the time or energy to figure those things out. I just want to code. Yeah, it's not learning the Neovim keystrokes. Like that's easy. I mean, I'm sure most of us have played video games. We know these like cheat code combinations. We had to memorize all this stuff. We used to memorize IP addresses to connect to like Counter-Strike source servers. Like literally IP addresses I had memorized as a kid. You think I can't memorize a couple of keystrokes? The stuff that's more annoying to set up is like, okay, now I have to hook this into like full project TypeScript erroring. How do I do my git diffs? Just like keeps adding up of like, okay, now I have to memorize that and memorize that. So maybe it is. Maybe I take back all what I said. Maybe memorizing all this stuff does just become overhead when you could just literally click a button and then boom, I get my git diff. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to configure anything. I don't have to go watch a YouTube tutorial to teach me how to set up Neovim. It's just here and I just use it. Definitely not going to fix this bug in the stream. Okay, so now let's dive into using the debugger, right? Here's another fun one, the debugger. A lot of people don't use the debugger, including myself for some reason, even though it's OP, right? It's a really great way to step through your code and try to understand what's going on. Zombie client, yeah, so we're currently looking at the zombie client. And for some reason, I call into this method and it like just fails, right? And so if you click on this little thing over here, this is actually going to pause the debugger on your breakpoints. Oh, sorry, it's just going to pause the debugger and put a breakpoint. So if I just run it, why is this one failing? Wait, is that the right one? Activate. Oh, I'm dumb. Not this button. It's this one. Pause on uncaught exceptions. I can't believe I just clicked the wrong button and explained it with so much confidence and I was totally wrong. Let's see, unable to find extension destructible. So it's failing here at this error, and then you're able to kind of look at the stack and understand like, why is it that it can't find whatever this extension is? This is the extension of destructible. This whole thing, whatever it is, I believe is the entity. So I think if I typed in it here, this extension file, oh, not it, ext. Destructible on death. There must be another place that we have to actually like set this stuff up in the client. This is some code that someone on my Discord added in, like doing the big refactoring to the entity component system. And so that's another thing that's kind of challenging when we work with a lot of people, is that you don't truly understand all the code that's being changed unless you like go through it and read it. Like even a code review, you can read the code, but let's be honest, like a lot of the code we read, it's just like, dude, I don't truly understand all this. Like I need to check out your branch and then I need to run it and then I need to step through your stuff to make sure I fully understand it. And by that point, it's like, oh, dude, I'm not going to hold up your work because I trust you as an engineer just because I want to fully understand what you're doing. I trust you. Let's just ship this. If it breaks, you'll go back and fix it, right? So that's some stuff you get to learn with working with other people, I would say. Definitely go and find people to work with. And if you're working solo at a company, like, or a small scale company with small people, I'm sorry, not small people. If you're working at a company with not a lot of developers, it's good to just once in your career get an experience of working with a lot of people. I haven't even worked on some of these companies. They say they have like thousands of employees. Usually these projects are splitting up into smaller little services, and those services are managed by a subset of teams, maybe even just one team of like 8 engineers and maybe even less. Like I've heard stories of like you have multiple Scrum teams like 12 different scrum teams, and each scrum team has 8 or 12 people on it, and they all kind of work on their own little pieces of the system, and somehow the whole thing just manages to make progress. Crazy stuff. I haven't been on a project that large before, though. What was I doing, though? I'm trying to figure out why it's throwing that exception in the UI, and so like we're searching through to get the extension, but a destructible doesn't exist on this zombie client thing. So we have to figure out why, because from the back end we serialize the extensions array to the front end, and then the front end basically looks over that array. Like if I were to do a debugger here and just save this and go back to my app, here we go. This is what comes over from the backend over here. We got this entity data transfer object, DTO. You'll see this in the industry a lot. It's basically when you want to map from one abstraction to the next. But we have extensions, and this has all the information. It only has an inventory extension on it. I mean, that's probably the reason why this is not working. So now I think I know what's going on here. So if I go back to the zombie, go up to like the top. Let's go down some. I didn't push the destructible into the array. Look at that. Look how much time I just wasted. Which cursor would have probably fixed in like 2 seconds. It's just crazy. Let's see if this works now. Let's run it. Oh, it's trying to draw the zombie. That's good. So it got a little bit further, I think. Trying to draw something. I don't know why it keeps... Just run it. Bro. Draw image. Why can that not draw the image? Fail to execute draw image on this provided value is not of type. So it's almost like I can't load the images. So I could try, let's go here. What's going on over here? Is dead. This is false. And then it should get the zombie dead image. Undefined. Why? Opinions on Nest.js. I haven't used it enough to have a strong opinion on it. I just know that it does things more of like a Angular class-based way with like I think it uses like decorators and stuff. I think it's it has a good structure to it. I think there's no problem using it if you're okay using something that has a lot of opinionated structure. So yeah, I mean, I think it's probably a good idea, especially if you're building something that's more professional. What you'll see with Express, if you decide you want to build your backend application with Express or Hono or whatever else, you end up just hacking together all this additional stuff that literally has a lot of what Nest.js is going to have out of the box, right? So it's up to you. If you like to actually like have more control over what... I don't think Nest has an ORM built in, right? But I know it has like security things and decorators that you can add in front of your controllers, and it has like auto-generated Swagger docs, which is really nice. So yeah, if you're building like a professional API, then probably Nest.js is pretty good. Up full flex. That's how it was when I was at Deer. 2,000 engineers broken into teams of teams of teams of teams. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of how it has to happen. Like, you can't manage that many people without having some type of smaller group. And every small little group just has a task. And they need to do their task and they need to do it well. So that's what you see in a lot of larger companies. Is just like, you're in charge of the finance department. You do the finance app. That's it. You make sure this thing never crashes. We have a feature you guys need to work on. Try to add that in. Or you're in charge of the tractor marketing team. You have to build all the UIs and the website so we can market John Deere to everybody. Zombie, why would this not work? Asset manager get zombie dead. I'm guessing maybe one of these assets don't even like exist anymore. Oops, I forgot to step into. So another cool feature with the debugger is you can step into. So you can go ahead and just like step into this. And then it's going to try to get a zombie. Key with frame. Zombie of 0. Going to try to get that. Look through here. Is zombie of 0 there? It's not. So it's trying to get zombie of 0, but zombie of 0 doesn't exist. So we are going to open up the client zombie real quick. We're going to go down. And we want to figure out, let's go up. Get frame with direction. That's what it's calling into. I'm curious why that also, like, what did I break there? I think I might do a diff. I'm going to go look at the diff real quick. Because definitely broke something. So again, like, coding is just a bunch of debugging a lot of the times, and it helps to understand, like, okay, what is your problem? What are you trying to solve? I'm trying to solve the problem where my images are crashing when it tries to draw the zombie. And then you have to kind of work backwards. Okay, what code is related to drawing out the zombie? Well, it's the render function of the zombie entity. Let's go through here. And usually it gives you line numbers when stuff throws exceptions. But just getting a higher context, like, okay, what is the problem? And then diving into the code can help you understand what's going on. So now I'm at the actual part where it's getting back an undefined image. And I didn't change any of the code related to that. So I'm curious if maybe there's just like a type or something that's missing from this refactoring I did. I mean, here we have like a type, or maybe the direction we can't get anymore. Get frame with direction, add direction suffix. Like, I'm so curious why this would work before. It's okay. We'll figure this out. We shall figure this out. So, again, step out of that one. Getting zombie 0. That got back the image, which is undefined. If it's not loaded, throw an error. Otherwise, return the asset back from the asset cache. We populate the cache here, which loops over our sprite sheet and basically crops out a bunch of different images and puts them in this asset cache. This gets called from a load method, so when the asset manager is initialized, when the client loads, it fetches the tile sheet PNG, and then it populates that cache, and then it sets is loaded to true. And so I wonder, it would have thrown an error if it wasn't loaded. So we know that the files and the file sheets and all that stuff should have been added into the game, and then this thing. It's just the asset key is wrong. Direction. If there is no direction, let me add a debugger right here. But it might get rendered on, let's see. Okay, direction is null, asset zombie. If direction is not null, we do all this stuff. Otherwise, we get the key with the suffix, which is zombie of nothing. What? Key with frame. Yo, did I break something? Like, I don't know why this would be failing all of a sudden. Kind of strange. Frame index. Man, I didn't mess with the frame index, and that wasn't even passed before. Wait, frame index was passed here. If is dead. Okay, so I think the issue, which took me a while to figure out, is that this is dead. I feel like this is getting called at the wrong time. You still here, Josh? Are you working on your game? Didn't you say you're making a game? Is dead false? If we're dead, then we'll do this one. Otherwise, we'll do this one. The frame index is 0. Facing is set to what? What is facing? Null. This is weird. It's like one of those bugs where it's like, why did this happen? This code has been like this forever. But it's like you added in a little bit of extra logic, and that slowed down probably a race condition that's going on here. Like, I don't know, something slowed down now. It's like now it fails every time on this. Doesn't make sense to me. Hey Tina, everyone say hi to my beautiful wife in the chat. Are you surviving down there? Do I need to come help? Why not put direction in enum? Hey, what's up, D Thompson Dev? Hope you've been doing well. I think you joined my stream like a long time ago. But are you still making YouTube videos? See, you're doing LinkedIn resume stuff. 3 months ago you did a video. Cool, let me give a shout out to you. Hold on. Go check out D Thompson Dev. He does a bunch of like resume stuff and just getting in the tech industry. He's really active on X as well, or he used to be. I don't know if you're using Blue Sky now or X, but he was always posting a lot of stuff on there. Go check him out. I will put a link to him. Shout out to him. Yeah, I think you're right, Josh. It's just one of those things where it's like, index is accidental. It's like this has been working this way for so long So it's like the changes I've made with the extensions has broken the code, right? If I stash this, I'm sure everything will just work fine again. But if you look at the actual changed code, like it didn't, nothing in this entity actually changed that much. It's just saying like, hey, instead of getting is dead from a member on the class, we're going to use the extension to get if it's dead or not. And so it still returns true or false. And maybe now my system is in a state where it could never be in before, where it's not dead, but it's just not facing any direction. I think that's the issue, right? This direction should fall back on something. So like determine direction null means he's not actually going anywhere. So I think, let me go back to VS Code mode because it's just going to be easy for me to debug this with something I'm familiar with. But get frame of direction, I'm wondering if maybe the direction should default. Hold on, direction. Because this is like the idle stance. So like technically you could have the zombie just like, you know, bouncing with his shoulders going up and down or something. And if I go to the tile sheet, I don't think we have an idle. Here's the zombie. And so when he's idle, it's almost like you just want to take going down, and that's the only one you ever do. And I know I could do a quick fix hack right now. Like if I go to the assets file, and then where's my giant lookup map? Like I could get this working just by simply saying, grab these, zombie down, paste this in, and then like we'll just have assets loaded for that, and then it will not crash anymore. But that's just not the fix. I just don't think that's the fix. Okay, unable to find extension positionable. Okay, so it did work. And I just don't understand why, if we don't have a direction, it shouldn't even try to append the indexes on it, at least for now, maybe. Frame index. Add direction suffix. Frame index. So it's one of those things where it's like, if direction is null, we assume it's in the idle. If you're idle, we assume that you do want some animations. And so it's almost like I'd rather say this is idle. Yeah, this is so messy. You know what? I'm gonna go. Sometimes again, like I mentioned at the start of the stream, sometimes you're gonna get into a rabbit hole situation. You're like, dude, I know I could fix this and refactor the way we're doing animations, but that's gonna be another whole hour or two worth of like trying to get it refactored. So I'm gonna say we should probably explicitly have something for idle to do. The fact we are hard coding frame 012 is super brittle. But maybe that's just the name of the game. Also, it might be better if these things lived in the zombie entity. Colocation is nice. Okay, right now I have to go to this weird asset file to remember to update this because my zombies animation is changing. Instead, finding a way to co-locate that. High cohesion is what it's called if you want to be professional. You want that stuff to live close to what's using it. such as a zombie client, and this thing uses it here in a render method. It just happens to look up the asset using this giant cache thing. So that's another thing with the refactor. And so like you get into a situation where it's like, I know I could probably spend a bunch of time refactoring this, but in terms of I just want this current refactoring, which was what were we doing? We were trying to add in the destructible extension to the zombie and just try to get the game to work. So now it's failing on cannot find extension positionable. That's coming from the zombie render method. And that's on a hitbox, right? So again, this is another situation where we could probably just like not care about it. What file was that? That was client zombie. Yeah. So let's go find client zombie. Let's go to the bottom, draw the hitbox, and we're going to go ahead and just like comment that out. How do you comment out again? Dang, I don't remember how to do it. Okay, let's just do that. There, the game is somewhat working. The zombie's not visible. In fact, he's invisible. And he killed me, but yeah, like we just did that refactoring. Everything's working. Other than why can't we see the zombie? It's probably still getting the wrong image. Or it's drawing the image at the wrong location, which is a possibility. So if we were to go back, in fact, let me, I'll say to do, add this back in. Render position, draw image. Let's verify that. Let's actually just, I'll just put a debugger. Why not? Put a debugger. The game will stop right there. I can hover over render position. It's 0, 0. So it's drawing the zombie at the very top left of the map for some reason. But why? Last render position. Target position. Get position. This could be because it's the first time the zombie has like spun up. Let's do it again. Yeah, now it's like interpolating me all the way. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. So that's another thing we have to look into fixing. By the way, I'm intentionally trying to ramble more in my streams, maybe so that I can like cut them out as clips. But isn't the zombie asset coupled with the bigger asset image? Isn't the zombie asset coupled with, you mean like the giant spreadsheet? Yeah, I think you have a good point there. So it's like you have to figure out where you want to draw the line of like the decoupling. Because the asset manager was trying to decouple the idea of the sprite sheet away from like the game. And so should the zombies know that there's an XY location in them? I don't know. Probably, maybe. But that, I mean, that kind of makes some assumptions. If the zombie entity itself has like logic of where it needs to look up the locations in the spreadsheet for all of its frames and whatever, you've coupled your entity tightly to your like basically your sprite sheet, which could probably be bad because if you switch out your sprite sheet or you decide you want to use individual sprite sheets for different enemies or for like the human, I mean, granted, you could use helper functions to quickly refactor that away, but something has to know how to look up that sprite sheet. And so it's like, yeah, do we want it to just live in the assets file? Is that okay? Maybe it is. Maybe that is a better place to put it. So thank you for that comment. I think you did point out some type of trade-offs you have to think about as an engineer. Like this stuff isn't easy. Like you put it in one place, you're like, oh, this is going to work great. And then like in a month down the road, you're like, okay, I probably shouldn't have done it that way because now I have 500 different files using it. And now if I want to refactor, it's super hard to get off of that. And so it's like knowing when to do certain things. You just don't learn until you like get the experience of it. And that's also something I'm just trying to learn. Especially I'm building a game. Like I never built a game, like a larger scale game before. So I'm kind of just trying to figure out the best way to do certain things. And sometimes you just got to struggle through it to learn it, right? Render position is not being set. Positionable. So anyway, this let's think a little bit. Seems like the position of the entity is never being updated. So let's think, what could be causing that? If it's never updated, that means that either the backend is never sending over the correct update information. And so find that boundary in your code base and like start working backwards from there if you want to debug. So for example, I would say we could go and look at the client event listener. And this is where we have like all the different things we're listening to from the server. And one of them is called on game state update. On game state update. Let's go down there a little bit. What this is doing, I won't talk about the performance of this because it's terrible, but what we're doing is basically we get all of the entities that come over from this game state event. This is just like a class that has a game state member on it. And that is what we set on the back end. And we also send that over to the front end, which is why you see a serialize method. So like on the back end, it calls serialize the get thing, the one thing it needs to send over across socket.io. And then when it hits the client, this is also used in the client. So we have this one event class is used on the back end and the front end. It's shared code. We have the backends in Typescript as well, so we can do this. You have to be very careful when you shared code though, because as Daria has pointed out, you start coupling your server to your front end and it becomes very hard to decouple that as your game grows. Anyway, so how does this work? We are going to basically send over the game state. So what I could do is add a debugger here, save this. We're going to go back and refresh. There we go. Let's look at this game state event. It has 95 entities on it. So this might be actually kind of problematic to find the zombie. Okay, no, it wasn't. Here it is. It has a position on it, has extensions on it. Okay. So the question is why is it that the position is not actually getting updated? Because it's coming over from the back end. So now we got to dive into, okay, what could be causing this? So again, I'm going to go back to that client. I think it's client zombie. This is the main thing we've been refactoring, right? So we changed this stuff, which there's a high probability we deleted something we shouldn't have, or there's a probability that the way we are deserializing this, which I think we have a deserialize, serialize. I think there's another place that we deserialize. And I forget where that is, so let's find it. We're going to go and find the client. Client index, maybe? Let's see. So client is like our main entry point for this game, where we have like all these different, we call them managers. So like you have different things in your game. You have sound, maybe you have like a camera, maybe you have a map, maybe you have something that you need to listen to events from your server from. So we have these different managers so we can kind of like encapsulate that logic in a single class to make it easier to maintain and understand. And also just like later on, you can find stuff like, oh, where's the stuff that's related to sound? Well, it's probably in something called Sound Manager. Okay, and you can go here, you can start seeing different methods of like, okay, how do you play a sound? How do you load sounds? Stuff like that. Controllers, these are related to any control that's in the game. So like pressing a keyboard, your mouse, clicking stuff on the screen, you have these controllers. UI is what we're doing for rendering stuff out. So like we have a bar here, this little thing on the left, thing on the right. These are basically, just render methods that depend on some type of state to figure out where it needs to draw stuff. We're using just Canvas and JavaScript for that. We're not doing it at a higher level. So it's a little interesting to read through that. And then, of course, the game state. So on the front end, it has to keep track of like where do all these entities live that come over from the back end WebSocket events. So we basically have this like game state thing we keep updated. And then when an event comes in from the back end, this is something I need to kind of think about refactoring. We're going to do delta compression at some point, so we're not sending over so much data. But there's this updated entities buffer. And if you wanted to see where this thing is used, we could go look at the references here. And this is called inside of update entities. This basically on the front end loops over every single entity in the game. And it basically updates it. All these entities need to update on the front end because they have different animation times. They have different, I guess mainly animations, or you could like do, what else could you do on the front end? Like interpolations and stuff. And so they have to update over your frame rate so you can smooth out how stuff is working. So we basically loop over all of the existing entities that we have in our client, and we compare them against the entities of the backend. And if there's a difference, then we assume that the backend deleted an entity. We definitely need to clean this up. This is not a good approach. Add/update new entities. You know what? I'm going to go up here. I'm going to add it to do, just so I don't forget. Clean this up with delta compression and a different approach for new/old entities. Put a little note there. But anyway, so when a new entity or an updated entity comes over the wire, which happens like every 33 milliseconds from the server, what we do is we loop over all of the ones we have in that updated buffer that I kind of talked about. And then we call either deserialize, which this is going to be the new ECS approach for how entities are created. And then this one will go away. I already have a to-do there. And so this whole code will be a little bit cleaner. In fact, this whole code might go away at some point, but we call deserialize, and that basically goes through, creates an entity based on the type that came over the wire, and then we also loop over the extensions that came over, and we reinitialize that class so that we have all the methods that we need to be able to like look stuff up on that. And so we'll use like the health of the zombie, and that's used in the render method of the zombie entity to show that health bar above their head and shrink it as they get hurt. Stuff like that. Okay. And that just gets synced up every server game tick event. Same thing with this. We just object assign. And then here is actually where we initialize that, right? So if it's an existing entity, all we do is we update the state. So like we just take the JavaScript object, we update all the properties, and that's about it. But if it's a new one, in fact, this is just bad code. I need to just new entity here. Like, I don't know. I'd probably break that up into smaller functions just so it's like this whole thing could probably have like one function call or something. But anyway, we use this entity factory to take the type of the entity, and that's going to go and create a zombie or a player. And based on if it's the old approach or the new ECS approach, it's going to call deserialize or initialize entity. And then it adds that to an array. And then basically we just loop over that every game tick to render it out or update it. Okay, so that was a walkthrough of how that works. The reason I'm here though is there's something wrong with the zombie positions not being updated. And so we have to figure out why. Why is it not updating the zombie positions? Because we know it came over. And so what we could probably do is if existing entity, oops, get ID. No, we don't want the ID. We want the type. Let's just try debugger now, and then we'll go back and see if we can change that. Debugger, here it is, existing entity. We got a tree, type of tree. So technically, I think my typing is just wrong here, but I could say if existing entity.type is equal to zombie, then we want to do a debugger here like this. Let's see if this will work. Okay, it did not work for some reason. ID and type. I feel like I might have like deleted those at some point. We have the cloth on the right. So like super data asset manager. Extensions positionable. That size. I mean, it should still work. This has a position on it, and this has a serialized method, which we send over the position. We already verified that the position's coming over correctly, right? So now we got to figure out live chat. Maybe we'll go there. Greg Allman, who's that? Positional. Yeah, the thing is that I didn't add the positional extension to this yet. I'm still doing the positions using the old approach. And did I stop using cursor? No, I actually use cursor still. I still use VS Code and cursor. I'm just doing this for the sake of doing it. To learn a little bit about Neovim. Maybe it's in the deserialized method for the zombies. Yeah, let's check there. So let's go to server zombie deserialize. Oh no, we already checked this serialize, didn't we? Okay, I can't do this. Where's the zombie? Yeah, there's no deserialize on this because it's using a generic entity zombie. Did I delete something I shouldn't have? Serialize. I think you're right. I think actually the entity factory, we changed zombie. I think this is the issue. We changed this from initialize entity to deserialize. And I think when you do deserialize on the zombie client, oh wait, maybe I didn't. That's the issue. I didn't change it to deserialize. Is that what's going on? I thought I changed this. I thought I updated this. Deserialize, yeah. Why does it say? I think I have like a lock going on. Okay, there we go. Deserialize. That only loops over the extensions. What is this doing? I think we still need to like manually add this is like a generic deserialized method. So I think maybe, is it because this, I should have like an overwrite, oops, override deserialize, all that. And then there's certain other things we're going to have on here, like the health. What else do we have? Set position, set the velocity. Why is there no set health? Well, that would already be on the destructible, so I think we're good there. Is there anything else that's on the zombie that I need to... Health? Last attack time? I don't think that was serialized over. Position, velocity, health. Facing. Health, position, facing, velocity. Yeah, facing. Okay. This dot facing. I guess we never used it. If that's never used, I wonder if I should get rid of it. I don't know why that's being sent over then. Determine direction. Yeah, the front end just points the zombie based on their velocity. So if they're not moving, they don't face anywhere. Oh, did we do it? Did we fix it? Backend definitely exploded from that though. Unable to find extension positionable. I think it's because the destructible tries to get a positionable extension. So I do need to unfortunately refactor the zombie again. Server zombie. This would have to have a positionable, which means I need to get rid of the positional trait, which has get position, set position, and get center position. So like, I think I can get rid of this. I'm hoping this won't take too long to refactor. This over here, we can say this dot extensions dot push new positionable. Do this. Oh no, I just deleted it. How do I add that back in? I don't know how to redo. And so if we delete that, I think we can delete that one. You know, maybe I shouldn't delete those. I'll just do something else. Hold on. I deleted it again. what is this one called again? It was positionable. I need to get better at that. Looks like we also say set size, and we could say 16. Just hard code it for now. Zombie width. All right. So instead of like getting the position here, I think the position would actually go away. That goes away. Which means in order to get the position, we have to say positionable equals this get extension, positionable, and then I think I have to get those separately. What am I doing? Oh, no this. Positionable dot get position. Yeah, that's what I need to do. Okay. Probably should like, okay, get position. I'm just gonna abstract this away. No, because then I just deleted those. Yeah, let's do that. What am I doing? I don't even know. Okay, does this not work? What is position? I don't know how to do that. Yeah, screw Neovim. Let's go back over here. Let's go to the server zombie. Don't need to serialize that over anymore because this dot position. I think it's by reference too. I think we should be good. Get center position. This would not work. Oh wait, what am I doing? Get center position if it has a center position with attacking range. Okay, I don't want to touch that. And I read undefined of X. What did I type in wrong? Render. This doesn't even need set position. I'm just hacking this together right now. Like, I don't care. I've reached my, I just want to use cursor point. Get center position. Yeah, this should just be get center position. Set position. Deserialize set position. Don't need that anymore. This, all the hitbox. Git position. So all these things, I could potentially make them private, or yeah, because they're not going to be used externally anymore. But the position lives on the extension now. So like, technically, like I have these little helper things. I'm going to refactor a lot of this stuff. Let's just see if we can get this game working. I broke it. Okay. Why is there no type on it? There's no type on the zombies? Entity type is zombie. There is a zombie type. So, like, it's just lowercase z. Okay, I screwed that up a while back. You know, I could just do that. $740. Last renderable position. 704. Yeah, it just doesn't seem like in the back end he's actually updating. That position looks like the zombie isn't moving. Yeah, I probably messed something up here. Set position calls get extension. That calls set position here. X and a Y. Handle movement. This get position. That potentially returning a copy. It is. No. Oh yeah, it is. Why? Yeah, these are private. So yeah, this is this is not a copy. I thought it was a copy. All right, thank you, Josh. I think that is actually the issue. Handle movement. I refactor all this stuff. This is not a copy, so like I actually have to say set position and then pass a position at some point. I think that's the issue. Oh, here he comes. Cool. Why is the bullets not hitting him now? So now I got to debug something else. I did all this refactoring, but it's still broken. Why is that not being imported correctly? Why is that not being imported correctly? Okay, so the bullet runs, and it's going to eventually hit something. Damageable key. I think I call it destructible. Is intersecting entity get intersecting? It damage box. Yeah, this is a rabbit hole refactoring. There's more stuff I got to go through and like figure out. So like this method this method only works with the old approach. It doesn't do the ECS approach to finding things. And so it's not going to work for our needs, because instead of looking at if a method exists on the top level entity, it actually needs to go through oh wait, it does do this. Collidable. Get extension collidable. Is that why the zombie doesn't have collidable? Yeah, this is... What does that need to be? Hitbox. Gets a positionable. So this thing depends on positionable, and when you put it on the entity itself, I think the bullets learn that they can hit that thing. At least I thought that's what it was going to be. Dang. Well, the bullet hit damage box. Collidable, get hitbox. Yeah, I think it's because I got rid of get damage box, unfortunately. And this thing doesn't know. Like, I bet you this is never... Function identifiers, if get damage box. Get hitbox. Let me switch that over real quick and see if that makes it work. Nope. Actually, no, it is. It's hitting the zombie because it's not. You see how it's not going through the zombie? It's hitting them. It's not hurting them. I don't think. If it's intersecting the entity, it has to be this. So if I go back, player attacked is intersecting the entity. Yeah, so that's getting called here. It's marking the entity for removal. It's saying, I think I need to add another place here. Again, this will all go away. This needs to actually check the extension. So I have to like intersecting entity dot has extension destructible, then damage it. There we go. Wait, but he keeps moving. Oh, he doesn't think he's dead. Zombie update. That's why I had that here. Come on. Okay, now he's dead. Now, to make it be what it used to be before, we used to actually send off an event when the entity died. Here it is. On death, on after death interact. This dot extensions. Oh wait, hold on. Destructible on death. Yeah, so here I just need to say destructible on death. And then I'll just say like on death. We want to call that. Looks like I already have one declared here. Oh, I do. Yeah, so I just want to like override the extension. I just want to like play some sound here. So it should, if I go back to the config, boom. Game works. We did that refactoring. Let's commit this before I break something. Yo, that was legit. We got through some stuff on this one. Probably has some bugs, but I'm going to say refactoring the zombie to use positionable, to use some of the extensions instead of old approach. Add all that, commit that. Done. I think that was a good. I left the console log in here, but whatever. Yeah, for real. It's like, honestly, I probably should just use like Unity or something. But there's just so much more it's just a lot more enjoyable to like write your own game engine and try to understand how this stuff works. You're not using zombie hurt event. Yeah, I just added that in hitbox. Client read good. Both Neovim and VS Code. Yeah, I mean the way you become like a 20x developer is you have to use Neovim and VS Code at the same time. There's just, you could use the Vim extension of VS Code, but like why would you do that? Just use 2 editors. Hit damage hitbox. Zombie method. Yeah, eventually the idea is like all the entities, I think we've gone through a couple of them, but all the entities need to use the extensions, which means I have to do these refactorings for all the different entities. And then I think we're going to be pretty solid going forward because like this is a pretty extendable approach. Like for example, we have this inventory thing. There's an inventory extension which allows it's hooked up to a player. And all I did was I took this same extension, like if I go to the zombie again, and find inventory, I just basically say, hey, make an inventory extension, push a random item into it, and then when the zombie's killed, it just like drops an item from its inventory. So let me bump this up to like 1. Let me show you. This is actually pretty cool. So I had to add 3 lines of code to the zombie class, and then when I kill the zombie, oh, I stopped my server, didn't I? Go over here, refresh this. Okay, I can loot them. I don't know why I played that sound. I gotta fix that. So with that, I basically say, hey, attached to every zombie is an inventory, and that inventory already has like built-in methods on it. That makes it easier to just scatter stuff on the ground. So like again, if I go to the inventory here, there's a method called scatter items. And so I just have to add an inventory, push a random item into it, and then whenever I want, I can just have it scatter everything on the ground, or I could just empty the inventory or whatever. So I think this entity extensions thing works pretty well. I was trying to add an ignite extension where like if you walk over fire, maybe the zombie will catch on fire. And so this basically has a cooldown that does damage over time on the thing that's on fire. It's just a matter of I have to go and hook up to the client so I can render a flame over the zombie if they become ignited. And then I was going to add a fire entity on the ground. So if someone walks over a particular location, they'll catch on fire. So I think that'd be really cool to kind of stress how this setup works. But it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, this is a method that is used in industry. Like it's a legit pattern that a lot of game engines use, I believe, called ECS. Someone in the Discord kind of told us about it, and then we try to build it with another game, and so I'm kind of glad that we're going down that direction again. Because you can do stuff with all like the entities and classes like I was doing, But then you end up like duplicating a bunch of things everywhere. And so like, this just works better, I think. Josh says, gotta say I love this game. Started off as a silly game, but now it's evolving into a full-blown extendable game engine. Yeah, I think when this gets enough functionality where it's actually playable, I think it's going to be pretty cool. Like, I'm going to wrap this in Next.js, have it so you can join different rooms, or you can start a lobby and join a game. And then I could be playing with my viewers or my community and just like work on it while we're all playing together. And maybe I could ship features live as I'm doing stuff. But yeah, still a lot of work that needs to be done, and I'm hoping that at some point when we do all this refactoring, we can have more people come in and like add features to it. But yeah, I think I've been streaming for 2 hours now, so I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up the stream. Hope you guys enjoyed tagging along. Hope you guys learned something. I learned a little bit more about, yeah, Battle Royale for sure. I learned some about Neovim today. That was kind of like one of the main goals of the stream. Actually, what did I learn today? I just learned how to navigate with the curly braces. I don't think I learned anything else, honestly. I already knew the interactive mode, and so I can like interact and... Wait, how do I do interactive mode? I swear at one point I knew how to do interactive mode. Is it V? Oh yeah, it's V. And then we learned how to comment. How do we comment again? It was like C... What was it? It's probably still in this is something, what I'm doing right now is very good to do, is like after you've done stuff during your day, the very end of your day, just like circle back and be like, okay, what did I actually learn? Enter visual mode. Select the lines you want. Press I. No, that wasn't the one I was using. GC. Is GC. Okay. Yeah, so I learned like 3 Vim things. Pretty cool. But yeah, I hope you guys join my Discord. You can talk to me directly there. Other than that,